and that is A Wrinkle in Time planet, and use the concept known as a tesseract to travel there. Joined by Meg's classmate Calvin O'Keefe, and guided by the three mysterious astral travelers known as Mrs. What's-It, Mrs. Who, and Mrs. Which, the children brave a dangerous journey to a planet that possesses all of the evil in the universe. And I actually like this movie. I thought, for the most part, it was well acted. The child actor, I don't know what his name is, but he played Charles Wallace, who was her little brother in the movie. I think they relied a little bit too much on him. I mean, if he was just playing for what he did in the first and second act, it was forgivable. It was fine. It wasn't too much, but he has an arc that is really important to the story that I don't think he was able to live up to, I guess you would say. Or,
you're not the first person I've heard say that.
Really? But yeah, he was. But for the most part, this movie was gorgeous. The effects weren't too in your face. They weren't too bad. There was a lot of CGI used in the movie, but it wasn't like so totally noticeable. Mm-hmm. I think for the most part, it was really, really nice. And what's his name? Chris Pine, and I'm gonna totally butcher the actress's name that played the mom in the movie. Gugu something.
Gugu Mbatu Raw.
Yeah. She was really good.
I might have butchered it too, but...
you did it better than I was about to say.
Yeah.
So, she was really good. She's always really good in the movie. She's been in she's in a lot of movies lately.
Yeah, yes.
She's in a lot of Netflix movies, but they're okay. I mean, like it was like the forget it. It was the Cloverfield movie, and she's in one supposed to be a really sad movie that just came out recently. But yeah, the movies that she's in, she's very good, and she was really good in this movie. There was Mindy Kaling, Zach Galifianakis, and Reese Witherspoon, and all those characters that they play in this Oprah. These characters that they all play in this universe are somewhat interesting. You don't really get to know too much of their character traits, or you learn a little bit more about Reese Witherspoon, but as far as the importance of Oprah's character, I have no idea why she's so important to everybody in there. She plays like a godlike character in this universe, but you don't really know too much about them or what their purpose is, besides somewhat guiding the story along. I mean, I never read the book, so I don't know if that's expressed in the book at all. But like I said, I don't know too much about how Chris Pine ended up here, besides the fact that it's kind of like an experiment gone wrong, but that's never shown in the story, and you don't know how he ends up in the place where he ends up in this story. Apparently he went through a journey, but you don't know exactly how he gets to where he's at. So there's some parts that are missing in here that make this a more full story. I don't know if it's just because they weren't cinematic, or if it was just something with the budget that kept them from filming stuff like that. Because this was a very expensive movie. I think it was like $200 million.
Yeah, no, Disney spent a lot of money.
Yeah.
As we miss Black Panther, the upcoming Infinity War, Ant-Man, Robin, Nutcracker.
But
they can afford it. Because all those movies, most of those movies make their money back. So,
but this doesn't make me like underwhelmed to see another Ava DuVernay movie. I think she did the best she possibly could with this movie. But there's just like I said, just some of the acting and some of the story elements that just weren't completely there to make this as remarkable as it probably could have been. I mean, the stuff that they did with this movie is impressive, and I don't know how well it's doing in the box office right now.
Well, they made 33.
Is it number 2 in the box office?
It was number 2 again, but Black Panther was number 1 for obvious reasons.
Well, look where we are in the industry then. We're doing pretty well.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, this movie was not as bad as a lot of the critics are panning it, I guess, to be right now.
I think maybe a lot of the ones that are being harsher on it may have read the book.
Probably.
So if you read the book of something and then it doesn't live up to those live up to that, I can understand being harsher on it because that's the goal of the movie.
Yeah.
To try to be a representation of this book. And if it fails to do that, it's a failure as a movie.
Yeah. But Storm Reed, she has she plays the Meg character. She was very good in this movie. There's some parts where you know that they're all on like a green screen soundstage that I don't think that they completely gave her the full effect of or understanding of what her character should be doing at parts. Mm-hmm. That I don't completely blame her for because that's just the problem with filming on a green screen, blue screen soundstage. Is that you don't know completely what you're supposed to be looking at, or like there's some parts where she's like she's more expressive or more surprised at certain parts than she is. Like the first time she sees Oprah, Oprah's like 30 feet tall probably, and she's there's nothing shocking like expressed in her emotions that she's like expressing any sort of shock or anything like that. She
doesn't have a sense of wonder to
yeah.
Like, this is a 30-foot tall woman. Yeah. She just like,
yeah, and then
you gonna help me or not?
So, but then in the third act, that was the part that I felt like I said, okay, this part seems like it's more for kids than it is for adults, because she has to ultimately. This isn't a spoiler or anything. I'm not about to spoil it. But ultimately, she has to understand some of her character traits that are her flaws. She has to accept some of her flaws in order to get to this thing at the end of the movie. This I don't know if you call it a disaster, but whatever it is, this problem that she has to solve at the end of the movie. It's ultimately supposed to be solved by her accepting some of her flaws. But the flaws that she expresses out loud verbally are stuff that we never saw in the movie. Like she says, "I'm messy. I'm a delinquent," or stuff like that. Those are some of these flaws. It's like, well, how come we never saw any of these flaws in the movie? How come she's not pointing out some of the flaws we did get to see in the movie? I was like, this seems like it's more for kids than it is because like the kids, like, oh, we're messy. We have problems in school. We're bullies or something like that. But this isn't the stuff that we ever saw from this character. Mm-hmm. Why can't we talk about this character's flaws? Why are we talking about this stuff that's more universal than what's actually going on with this character? So that was a problem. I was like, oh, that seemed kind of childish. I said, wasn't this something that
she basically said like what you would say like when you're a kid is you want your kid to get your parents to get you that video game.
Yeah.
I remember to brush my teeth, clean my room. Wash my hair, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. This is.
I saved the world with chores.
It just seemed like this was more surface level than it was actually her actually
exposing herself to what's really wrong with her.
Yes, that's why I said. Well, that was kind of stupid.
It's kind of
so that was something I felt was a huge problem at the end of this movie. But for the most part, like I said, it was an enjoyable movie, but it didn't live up to, I guess, a potential that it could have had it not been kind of watered down, I think is what it is. I think this could have been a dark movie, not like this, a little darker in tone, but it just felt a little bit watered down, and just to make it more, I guess, digestible for children audiences. Which, I mean, is understandable for a little bit, or at one, I guess, if you look at it from one perspective. But for this to be an actual great movie, it needed those things to it. So, for that, I'm going to give this one I'll give it a 6.5 out of 10.
Okay. A little lower than the Red Sparrow, but
yeah. Well,
it sounded like it had more promises than Red Sparrow.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Yeah. So,
but when the crux of the movie is kind of weak, it kind of does hamper the whole experience.
Yeah. It just didn't have that full punch that I think this movie could have had. And I don't think it had to be completely cinematic, or I mean, it didn't have to be like a huge budget to fix those problems. I just think that those were just problems and elements that could have been done, but in the writing. And yeah,
the budget wouldn't have helped the writing that needed fixing.
Yeah. So if you had. I don't think you had to completely recast the Charles Wallace character with a better, maybe a better actor probably could have done it. I think Jacob, no, not his name. I forget his name now, but he was in Wonder. I think he would have been a better child actor to play that Charles Wallace character because they seemingly are close to the same age. I think he might be a little older, but I think he would have been more fit for that role than this kid needed to be at that point in that movie. Okay. Like I said, he would have been forgivable had he not been given such an important part at the end of this movie. So, but yeah, 6.5 out of 10. I'll probably watch it again. I don't think it's like I said, it's a salvageable movie. You just have to give up some of your predisposed ideas of how movies should go, I guess. I don't know. But anyways, do you guys agree with me? Did you guys check out A Wrinkle in Time this week? Let me know what you guys thought. And if you agree with my opinion on it. If you don't, I want to hear it. If you do, I want to hear it. So leave them down in the comments.